podcast live. Welcome. Hello. Good morning to all. We are here to hold some space, to anchor some energy in, ground in, talk about all the juicy things, all things Soulpreneur Experience. This is our first time being here in this container, doing the Soulpreneur Experience thing, and it feels like it is just in perfect divine timing, which is
Mhm.
we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Virginia, to the
You?
space. And I'm Misty. For those of you who may not know, we are here as co-founders of this space and this community. Look at here we are. We're on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at us. I'm glad yours is coming up. Mine's
You can find, we actually go live inside of the Soulpreneurs Experience space here in the Soulpreneurs app. So if you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere else on social, you can get to us by going to our soulpreneurs.exp Instagram, and you can click on our soul tree link
you
and
can
get
find.
into the Soulpreneurs app. It's an exclusive app, so you have to go through that portal to get to us. And we want to make sure it's nice and exclusive, right?
Well, and the beautiful thing is it's like all inclusive exclusivity, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's right.
a space that it's not that we're saying you can't, we want everybody to come that wants to
Yeah.
be here, but it is holding the container in a way to where it's not just open for anybody and everybody to be here, but really the people that are called here and the people that want to be here, that are on this journey and on this mission of soulpreneurship and just of aligning their energetics with themselves, their souls, their heart, really getting centered and aligned within their own experience. And the juicy thing about being a part of this is there is so many things that will happen here that will not ever go out into the bigger platforms. There's a lot of things that you'll be able to see out in the bigger platforms, but a lot of this, it's like, we want to invite people into our home, into our space, and give them a little extra for being here inside of this container. So welcome everybody that's here and that comes in later, sees us from wherever you are. We are excited today to kind of activate this portal. We've been doing all the things and it's activation time, and that feels really good to be here and be activating. But in that activation, for me, I think about activation sometimes feels like putting something up, but for me, this feels more like settling in, right? It's like
Mhm.
of settling into this and what we're going to be doing here. So it feels good to be settling today.
It feels so good. And
Mhm.
just setting that in, and what are we setting our intentions for today and grounding in. I'm really excited to have a session of grounding for us as we move into this experience. This experience.
This experience, yeah, I want to bring us through that space of giving ourselves time to just settle for a moment. It doesn't take a long time. We can get grounded and anchored and settled and really set our intentions and align ourselves in a very short amount of time. It doesn't have to be something
That's
extraordinary and extravagant all the time. Sometimes those are fun. I really love the extraordinary and the extravagant sometimes. However, the truth is that most of us have a lot that's always, going on and pulling at us. And so to just have a few moments to anchor and ground and stabilize so that as we move through our day, there we are.
Mhm.
Becomes that touch tree, that touch point that you can always come back to. If we begin our day and our week and our month or whatever the cycle is that you're in, if you start that with intention and with that attunement, there's always that place to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do that. I just saw a message come through. Let me check. Um, Dawn is coming in. She's trying to get in. We've
Nice.
got people that are coming in that are new to the app, and so we're very excited to welcome them. We've got our old timers that have been here for a while. We love you guys. We're so grateful for all of the time that you spend with us. So thank you for being here, everyone that gets here. Um, and that being said, let's do this. Let's anchor in, take some breaths, and get centered for a few minutes. Set our intention before we hop into our subject at hand today, which is divine timing. So,
Divine timing.
divine timing. All right. I'm just going to settle my being. I invite everyone else to do the same. If you have space to take a moment and just be here with us, we'll be talking a lot, and you can just listen to as we go. If you have the space right now to just be still for a few
Mm.
and to really tune into the body, into your energetic field. Give the mind a break. It's always so busy. It's such a busy, busy thing sometimes. And so just giving us a moment to breathe. Take a couple deep cleansing breaths, the deepest you've taken today. And then on the release, give it just a good get weird with it if you want to. And let it all out. A couple breaths. Maybe shrug the shoulders up to the ears
Mm.
and release them. I like to roll them around a little bit. And just find yourself settling into an aligned space. And as you come into natural breathing, paying attention to how the breath feels flowing in and out of the nostrils, filling not just your lungs, but your diaphragm, your lower abdomen, really filling your entire system with that air. And I'd like to take you through a practice today of stabilization, of really anchoring and grounding your energy with breath. And so, as you're doing this breathing, just start to notice the heaviness in your body, feeling gravity supporting you, anchoring down. Wherever you're touching the ground, whether that's you're sitting or you're standing and it's just the bottom of your feet, or maybe you're laying down, whatever that is, just notice where your touch point is, where your anchors are. And just imagine that you've got some really thick, juicy roots growing down, 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 anchoring you into the earth. And as you're just continuing to take some deep cleansing breaths, notice what that feels like to become rooted and anchored and grounded. And then let that energy move up through those roots and into your body. Feel that supportive earth energy anchoring you. And now that we feel that grounded, let's bring that energy up into the heart space. And just take a couple deep breaths, feeling what it feels like to open your heart. Maybe give a little bit of gratitude for this day, for the things that make you smile and bring that warm, fuzzy feeling into your heart space. Give that some gratitude. And then bringing that up into the higher energetics of your being, your throat, your third eye, your crown chakras. And just noticing what that feels like to be filled to the brim with this supportive, anchored energy. And from here, we're going to do just a couple rounds of what I call box breath or square breathing. So this will really anchor us in. And we're going to breathe in for 4. So When you get to the top of that breath, hold 2, 3, 4, and then release 2, 3, 4. Again, hold 2, 3, 4. One more time. In, hold, exhale, hold. Mm. Hmm. That should have got us feeling really grounded. Maybe now just take the palms of the hands, rub them together, listen to the heart, smile. Thank you. Thank you to the body, to the breath, to the being for being here and being with us today. Mm. Mhm. I hope that that served in just settling the energy.
Hmm.
Mhm. So juicy. Feels so good to be stable and secure.
Thank you, Misty.
Mhm. So very welcome. Thank you for giving yourself those moments, for giving all of us those moments
Mhm.
in a time where we are so busy and there's so much going on and we're always doing and all the things. We know how important the practice is of coming back to center, coming back into ourselves. This is something in our container as partners in this business and as friends and all the things that we are, that we hold each other so accountable to in such a beautiful way.
Mhm.
I really love that about our partnership is that
Me too.
we know when we're ungrounded and we can, we can support each other in taking that time and really stabilizing. So yeah, it's a big part of our practice.
It's huge. It's non-negotiable
Yes. Yes, very much
part
so.
of the practice, and um, it allows us to be the most authentic soulpreneurs,
Mm. Mhm.
and allows us to um, tap into divine timing,
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Not be so twisted up and caught up in, our
The
mind
doing,
take over.
right?
Oh, I've got to get
Yes,
this and this done by this, this, and this. And if I don't,
right.
the whole world is going to fall apart, is what it can feel like. And
Yes.
that's not true, even though in the moment it feels very true. And I think that something that we have found over and over again is we do get twisted up in that. It's not that we don't. We can at
Mhm.
times we get so excited and we start planning things and we're like, oh, and this and that and this is da da da
Yep.
da. And then we learned that things will be as they will be.
Right.
Oh, happening.
All is well.
Ah!
All is well.
That's good. Did you just magic something and stop it in thin air? Like, right? It looked like it was very magical, whatever you just did. It was like, no.
Sometimes my, desk, it's a levitating desk, and it raises on its own,
Oh my goodness.
and, the the little the little, I have a Mac Mini that sits on here, and it started to tip and go off the side. I was like, "That's gonna crash," but I stopped it with
Very
the
well.
magic of my hand.
Very well done. I've got somebody trying to get in and they can't find us, so let me send them a message real quick.
Okay. I was gonna see, Dave was, I told Dave about it, and so I think he might be popping in too. Misty and I are we were talking about this, before we came on, this layering effect of the soulpreneur. I remember when, we were all in our, hibernation phase, let's just say, and we couldn't go anywhere, and even Oprah was, hibernating, and, she was going live on Facebook because she couldn't go into her studio. She was, like, doing things from her home, and, she said, "You know, please forgive us. I only have a staff of 20 right now. And, so things might go in and out with this live broadcast and things might be a little wonky. And I thought to myself, wow, like how much grace are we not giving ourselves because we look to those that have these staffs that we cannot see. We cannot see what's happening behind the scenes, and we think, "Oh, maybe they have, like, 2 or 3 people." And really, they have a wide, vast variety of people that are only focused on one thing. And we, as soulpreneurs, have all of these things
Mhm.
that we wanna get perfect right now before we do anything. But if we can v settle into the layering effect of one thing at a time and bringing the value, the rest will catch up. And that's what you and I were talking about this morning is the fact that, we wanted to get this out to more people and start, getting marketing this and doing reminders for people and all of these things. And it's like it's coming,
Yeah.
just taking it one thing at a time.
Mhm. That has been the theme this week for me, certainly. When we were talking about what today's subject matter was gonna be and divine
Mhm.
timing was the first thing that came up, and it was like, that feels like what we are so in the throes of right now is really being able to allow for things to come together as they will and as they can, and, um, when we try to take all the components and hook them all in at once,
Mhm.
work. It's that the layering, having to I and the spider web keeps coming up, but if you think of how a spider weaves its web, it starts with one strand that it hooks to something, and then it takes that strand and it hooks it to something else. And then it goes and makes all these strands, and then and only then does it start weaving in this
Mhm.
pattern, right? And so, and even then, every single part of that, from one strand to the next is another step, another little thread. And so they're all a part of one thread, but they have so many little segments. And in my experience of really having to tend to my perfectionism and things like that that can really get me stuck, and maybe that perfectionism has to do with getting everything done by a certain time or doing these things. What actually ends up happening is it just powers me down and I feel
Mhm.
overwhelmed and exhausted and like I can't get anything done. And
Yeah.
the other side of that is when I can put it all in the vortex and be like, I want to do all these things, but I need to be in alignment with what to do, just the next thing. What's the
Right.
next and the next thing? I don't need to know for the next 1,000 steps. The journey begins with one step and then another. And we have certainly had to experience that a lot through our journey because we've been on this journey, like you were saying, uh, you know, doing all the work ourselves in a lot of ways for a very long time. And it's been a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of stuff that, of course, we're like, oh, yeah, let's just get it done and do it and launch it and da 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 da. But it's not realistic. If we
Right.
had a team of 20, heck, Oprah's like feeling like she's got not enough team with a team of 20. And I'm like, us with a team of 20, we could take over the world, it feels like.
That's right.
And so, yeah, that's a beautiful part of the process. I think.
So true.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
What
was
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I want you to go ahead. You go ahead.
I love the idea of that spider web, and, I know that you and Ash were talking about that yesterday, and, as you were telling me about it, I was thinking about how that again, it's that layering effect of the spider web. She goes over the web, over one strand several times, but you've gotta get that strand out there to perfect it.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not something where you just put one strand out and that's perfect, and you move on to the next strand and that's perfect. It's
Mhm.
that one strand she's perfecting
Mhm.
over and over again,
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
right? And that is
We couldn't have foreseen, or we couldn't be good at unless we went through that so many times to come to it, to
right,
really in our authority and our authenticity about it.
right. Exactly,
Very much.
exactly.
I think for me, the challenge of divine timing can be because I also can see it all laid out, right? It's like we have
Mhm,
these expansive minds and we're innovators and all of these things. And I think particularly soulpreneurs, creatives, we vision and experience in a different way. This is a path that not everybody takes because it is a different, there's not going to be the standard, this is this and that is that and da 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 da. This is a very multi layered experience being a soulpreneur. And
mhm.
in that, it's like you see this huge vision and you want to anchor it into the timeline right now. But that's not what is actually best for you. And if you are someone like me who's always saying, I always say for the highest good of all. So when I say that, it's like not just for what I think is best or for what I want to be, but it's really a much bigger thing that I'm talking about there. And so there's so many other components to that I'm not aware of that are going on behind other scenes, and all of those pieces are coming together. And so that can be for me where the challenge is thinking that I have a better idea of what timing should be than this, like, thing that is so much bigger than me, that has so much more awareness around things than I do. And not feeling like the things that I set up for myself, as far as when I think things should be done by, um, that in the past has been something that could really be devastating to me, because I felt like if I didn't hit this mark or if I didn't hit this goal, it was a wash. Like, it's no good. It's done. It didn't happen. But 2 days later, it could be when it is meant to happen, and then it just all naturally unfolds. And so that challenge of releasing control, releasing the need to know what's coming, when it's coming, and how it's coming,
Mhm.
surrender aspect, I think that's a big part of this divine timing key, is being able to surrender.
I
And
think so too.
yeah.
I think so too. I was the whole process, I've had the privilege to, walk a lot of people on the path of launches,
Mhm.
and it actually I don't think that there's one person that I have walked through the launch that they've actually launched on the when they came in and they said, "Okay, I am launching this date,"
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
"I want to launch by this date,"
Mhm.
to get everything that they needed in order to allow that to happen. It's it's there is a pressure and a force, and even if they did every single step, there
Mhm.
was always something divinity-wise,
Yep.
not anything that they could control, that would get in the way of actually that date from that launch. And
Mhm.
it's not to say that in the future that you can have launch dates that actually, but you have to have systems in place
Mhm.
for that to be able to happen. And when you're a soulpreneur,
Mhm.
you're creating systems at the same time as you're launching.
Yeah.
It's like you're creating the plane in the air while it's going, and that is okay. That is actually a brilliant way to do this process. It's great, and you have to allow divine timing. Timing has to have grace. Timing has to have a surrender to it,
Mhm.
because there are aspects that you as the creator aren't aware of.
Mhm.
that must take place.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then you see that on when you start doing your launches and you can prepare for those and you understand those. But each individual is different. There is no cookie cutter for this
Mhm.
process because each individual is different. Each person has different resources available, and each person has different aspects of the launch that they want to have take place.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I personally get frustrated when there's so much out there that will guarantee somebody's success
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
a cookie cutter. Um, and people time and time again come to me for help on that in that area. And I, it's really wonderful because we can, get them through it and all of this. But I'll tell you, divine timing is divine, not just because it aligns all of the elements and all of the people together and comes into the perfect timing for the individual that's launching and everyone else around. But
Mhm.
because it is like the actual time
Mhm.
is perfect.
Yeah.
Like the actual, it couldn't, like, for whatever reason, it wouldn't have been beneficial
Mhm. Mhm.
for
Mhm.
it to launch on this day. And we don't know that. Like, we just don't know that. And so, um, I think there's a certain desperation that sometimes happens because of different elements in financial lifestyles that I think we can talk about that,
Yeah.
you know,
Because it's
financially.
get into that, like, and we've had this happen with launches where it's like, we get in a state of, like, "We need this to happen right now. We
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
this." And that need, when we get into that need, that's us actually being in lack, and we're not in trust of that divine timing of whatever it is that you say that is, like, your higher power. It's like we're out of trust, we're out of congruency there, because we feel like we need it to happen right now because we feel insecure about
Hmm.
about this, like, it's not going how I want it to. I need it to happen right now. And what we learn time and time again, I learned this personally, we learned this in business, is that when I push things to do that, it not only usually falls way short of what I want it to be, but I end up exhausted and burnt out and not capable of doing my part when divine timing does come knocking, right? And it's like, oh,
For
now. And
the
I'm like, now I'm
opportunity. You're not there. You're not present for that opportunity,
right.
right? I am not. Like, I can say we, like, we're not present for the we don't hear it. And
Yeah.
actually, it's knocking all of the time.
Yeah.
Like, there are opportunities all of the time for us for abundance. And when we are in need state and in that lack state, we're over here trying to get this to work, but actually opportunity is knocking and saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
here. Why don't you release this and let the universe take care of this and
Mhm.
come over here and focus."
Mhm.
It
Survival versus thriving. And it's like, to
Right.
thrive for me doesn't mean that I've, like, got, all this richness, all those things. Of course, that's all great and good. But to be thriving is to be feeling in alignment within myself, to not be in restriction, to not be in fear, to not be limiting myself and bound
Mhm.
because I have an idea that I'm not going to be taken care of, which is not
Right.
ever true for me. Like, every time that I get in my feels about, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do something because I don't have the means to do it. If I get caught up in that, that is the energy that continues to spiral, right? And
Right.
that's what I give energy to. And I have just learned that I can feel that and I can experience that. And that's really real. I'm not like, that is a valid experience to have in the body. But that's a somatic experience that we're having based on a past experience generally.
Absolutely.
And so, or in something we've been told should be a certain way. And so,
Mhm.
to experience it and feel it and allow my body to go through it and allow whatever part of me is, like, feeling that insecurity, to have their time with it, but then to hold space and say, okay, but actually, and this is a part of the grounding practice and something I teach in somatics, is like, when it feels like that, if you will just look around, recenter yourself, get yourself back in your being, and be like, is this actually happening right now? Is this threat that I feel that it's like imminent doom? Is it really happening right now? Because generally it's not. It's something I've projected that's out in the future that I've decided is going to go wrong or isn't going to go right. And to come into that and just come back to, okay, I can trust that everything is okay right now. And whatever I need to know or whatever I need to experience in order for me to move into that next space is available to me if I will be present
Mhm.
now. And maybe it's, something that it ends up shifting in the time, what I call timelines. It's like maybe you have a date that you're being told, you've got to have something done by, and you realize you can't. And then something happens and makes the date move anyway. It's like, well, it was going to change anyway. And so
Right.
me getting all worked up about it or stressed about it, it's not really supporting. And
It's it's that negativity bias.
mhm,
Um, and when we come back into the present moment, I love to also incorporate curiosity
mhm,
and saying, what is it I right now am directed towards this path of things getting worse and worse and worse.
mhm,
I have to balance this out with what if things get better and better and better. Like, I
mhm.
can't just have this one.
Yeah.
So where is it getting better? Because it can't just be one,
Mhm. There's
right?
always a full spectrum at play.
There's
All
always full spectrum. So what am I missing? Where is my blind spot here? And
Mhm,
just asking that question can open the door to release some of that pressure of
mhm,
like, I obviously have a blind spot because I am going down a dark hole right now.
mhm. And
And there's that other side.
if you know your human designer and you know these things about yourself, you can set up these like flags of, okay, I'm very frustrated right now. That is not
Mhm.
my normal state of being. So therefore,
Yeah.
I'm working against the grain here in some way. I need to
Mhm.
regroup and then see what happens.
Right.
So
Right.
often we just get so caught up in it. And then
Right.
it's like
And we identify ourselves with the feeling when the feeling is just a direction. It's
Mhm,
like saying, "Hey, I'm moving away from how my soul is really feeling about this. And so let me just check back in to see where I am distancing myself with soul
mhm,
in the situation." And it's not bad that I am because we need those directors, right? There is no bad in the bad, like it's not bad for bad feelings ever.
yeah.
It's just, "Oh, I'm feeling this way,
Mhm,
and there's something there that I'm not aware of, and I don't need to, w like, go down the dark, dark hole. All I need to do is just acknowledge it, right? And allow myself to be, 'Okay,
mhm.
this is interesting.'"
Yeah. That observer piece is such a big piece in my journey that I've experienced. Whenever
Mhm.
I will never forget being, and this has been years ago, but I was in my little tiny camper at the time that my life was completely breaking down and shifting and rearranging itself. You talk about tower moments. It was a big
Oh,
tower.
yeah.
And I was in that space of recognizing just that. And I forgot what I was about to say. I was about to tell you a story and now it went away. What were we talking about? Oh darn. Well,
It's that you were saying that it was a tower that was breaking down. You were We were talking about I'm blanking too now. It's okay. Must be the next
but
thing.
that's all hard. But there, I whatever we were talking about is that complete breakdown to have to get to. But there was something else, and it whatever. Who cares? It's not that important. But um, yeah,
Divine timing.
timing.
It'll come back to you in that divine timing.
Yeah, let it go. Let it go. I'm looking at my notes to see what else we wanted to talk about when it came to that. That's so funny. Oh, I wanted to bring this up because one of the things that I had written down was to discuss the challenges and benefits of aligning one's soulpreneur endeavors um, with this soulful, authentic approach that is very different than what the majority of people experience, right? And so, this challenge of divine timing, what does that look like as a soulpreneur? And what are the challenges that can come up there? And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is what it is to go against the grain, right? That there's, if the majority is moving one direction and you are saying, actually, that's not for me. I don't actually want to do that. Me working an 8 to 5 and managing clinics and doing all these things, it burnt me completely out. Like I got very sick. All these things happened. And I was constantly trying to control time, constantly trying to manage time. And it was such a big shift for me, and one of the things that was really surprising was how activating it was to others that I was reclaiming my time,
Mm,
trusting divine timing, and I was trusting that things were gonna work out, and I was taking these paths that were, like, not well-worn paths. They were,
right.
and how activating that was to others in ways, and then how I had to feel about activating others, and like, people like, who's she think she just can go off and do things in her own timing and how she wants to. And I think as soulpreneurs, that's something that we probably all rub up against at some point.
Do you think it had partly something to do with, um, the way that the way that other people needed you to be?
Mm, that's a great point. Yes, because I was no longer available to function in the ways that had actually been depleting me.
Sure, but to them, it felt very supportive,
Totally, totally,
and
totally.
to them, it felt like you were holding them and holding space for them,
Mhm,
and, um, you were their light
mhm,
and their anchor,
mhm,
and then all of a sudden, when you claim back your own sovereignty because you weren't really authentic
mhm,
in those times for them. You were doing it for them. You weren't doing it because, like, you weren't tending to your own self-love and self-care,
yeah,
and they didn't realize that.
mhm.
And so now you've almost, like, slipped, and I'm saying you because I have done, like,
Yeah,
this is a we thing, like, I have experienced this,
mhm,
like a slipping, like pulling the rug out from underneath
mhm,
and then shutting them out. I had a friend in particular that, started creating boundaries for themselves, and that felt like a wall to me. And it was very off-putting too because it was like the friend was very stern and
mm,
very clipped and very, aggressive, not towards me, but because they had to claim it, it was very aggressive, and it felt aggressive towards me, and it felt like a huge fucking wall
mhm,
that went up, and I was very hurt, and I didn't understand it, and so when people started bringing up boundaries to me years ago, I really didn't like it,
mhm,
and I didn't adhere to it because and I understood self-love, I understood self-care, all of that, and doing me first, but I also saw this ugly side of projection
mm, mhm,
as well, and so it's like how do we introduce boundaries and how do we introduce our self-love and self-care in a way that and you can't help how people react. You've got to set them.
yeah,
But also you have to clear yourself of those that wounded area too as you're talking to other people about setting those boundaries and about having that self-care in a very loving way as well. And
mhm,
that's just my experience with it. And
yeah,
I hope that that's helpful for some people who've experienced maybe the other side of it.
yeah. Well, I think that's so true, and And to add to that, I think too, one of the things that is challenging to other people is when we step into our authenticity and we say, I'm actually not available for this anymore, it challenges other people to have to look at what they are and are not available for, or
Yes.
they're not in their authentic truth. Then, for this, like talking about this is like when I started doing that, it was activating to people because they were like, why does she get to do that? And what has come up for me around this is as I was sitting in a healing session with myself one time, and I was feeling what it felt like to have like some energy put at me that did not feel good. And what came up was a realization that in a past life, I would say years and years ago, this is not something I've done recently, but years and years ago, I could relate this to seeing someone, a beautiful woman, come out of a gym that is just in her body. She's taking care of herself. She's in such a healthy, glowing state. And my response to that at the time, when I was not in that way myself, I wanted to be, but I wasn't. My response at that time would have been like, who the hell does she think she is?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's just authentic truth of like we are activated by other people that are holding their truth
Yes.
reverently, and when we're not. And
Yeah.
instead of us taking responsibility for that and being like, I'm going to watch you and figure out what you're doing because I want to do that. Now I had those people too. They were like, I
Right.
don't know what you're doing, but I want in. How you doing that? You know? And
Right.
there are people that come with you. And then you've got the other side. There's always the full spectrum. When you
Right.
start to trust in this soulpreneurship journey, when you start to trust in yourself and your soul and your heart and your mission and your purpose and your passion, that's going to be activating to yourself and to
Mhm.
others because the majority of us have not functioned in that way our whole lives. And so we are having to come into that. And then one of the things I've heard that Lisa Nichols said this, and I just love her. And she was one of my very first mentors. And she says, don't, and maybe somebody else says this too, but she said, don't give your $1 million ideas to a $1 person.
Oh, yes, I heard her say that. I love that.
And that when she said that to me, I was like, oh, okay, that is a great, because I would be giving my $1 million ideas out all day long to a $1 person. They'd be like, the fuck? What do you do? You can't do that. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do that. That's not even true. Cause I could have talked to a $1 million person like, oh yeah, yeah, totally. Let's do it. You know?
Yeah.
And so there is just such a difference there. And so that I think is one of the challenges is coming into that authority within ourselves and our sovereignty and saying, I somebody else doesn't have to trust divine timing for me to trust.
Right.
Somebody else can
Right.
say, you've got to have a plan, you've got to have a goal, you've got to do it this way, or it's never going to work. But for me, if I know that's not true, I've just got to be in trust with my own self and my, you know, higher power.
Yeah. And each time when I first started doing that kind of boundary work with family first, and it
Mm,
was like almost it was healing for me. It was a time of healing. It was a time of just stepping back, and it just feels like I love it when you can surrender. I surrendered and just prayed
mhm.
that it wouldn't be harsh, that it
Mm,
would just be a natural separation for a time.
yeah.
So I could do my own healing and take the space I needed
Mhm,
and just slowly come back and integrate back in. And the
mhm,
best thing I could do was heal myself
mhm,
and be in alignment with my family
mhm.
and not overgive.
Mm,
I'm a recovering overgiver.
same, same.
And I
Many
don't even think I can wear a one-day badge.
many like tokens. Like, thank
I
you.
need tokens for that.
You and AA. Seriously,
Oh,
we should have a people pleaser token like that. That would feel
oh
so
my
good
gosh.
every time I don't do that, that somebody's like, I hear like a little cha-ching or a little
I know.
that's
So,
so
yeah, that's, and it has really, like, worked beautifully with my family. Like, I have ah, such a beautiful, like, it makes me tear up. I have such a beautiful relationship with my family that it was hard in my 20s. really hard as a teenager, hard in my 20s, and awkward in my 30s. And now that I'm in my 40s, it's like
Mm.
just such a beautiful, beautiful thing that I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for, that I'm learning this with business
Right.
as we go. And I'm learning, and this is divine timing too. I think this boundary thing and divine timing totally correlate, because if you're not setting the right boundaries for yourself, all of these things are going to get your when your boundaries are crossed is the number one reason that will stall a launch
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
and keep you from getting to your goal, because other people are going to come in needing things,
mhm,
other family members. I mean, I see it with children, I see it with, you know, all of that family stuff. And then also, if you're tending to other parts of your business that you're letting go of, also can, if you're not setting those proper boundaries, they can really override what you have in store for your business. And so I am learning that, stepping into my inner CEO,
mhm,
uh, and having to release some things that I did do on my own for a long time, and I needed to, but now we're stepping into a space that I have to release that and give that to someone else that is a manager
yeah,
or a technician
mhm.
or a support line.
Or a
And it's
developer.
very, or a developer. And it's very hard for me to do that because I love interpersonal communication. I love relationships. I love being the one that people come to, that I know something. So,
And that speaks to, I love what you said there, and what that activated within me is, when we talk about these boundaries and about aligning with divine timing, this is really inner work, because we can talk about other people coming in across.
yeah,
We are the one though that
no, but
hold,
you're the one that has to hold it. Like,
we
it's not other people.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I'm glad you made the distinction, because that is it. It's not the other people coming in and disrupting things.
yeah.
It's
It's literally
you, it's you coming in your next step of your becoming.
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
who are you becoming? How I love the saying, and you'll hear me say it all the time. How much of your becoming are you allowing yourself to be today?
mhm,
Are you going to stay in the become that you were yesterday and the day before? Are you going to keep evolving and into the becoming of who you truly are stepping into right now in this moment?
mhm,
And that has nothing to do with anybody else, but it does have to do with you shifting and pivoting and allowing yourself to delegate out and to change the terms
yeah, yeah.
with your
Totally.
people. You have to be able to change your terms.
Mhm, mhm. And just like what you were saying, recognizing within yourself where you're holding yourself, just what you're speaking to is like the divine timing of what happens when we bring on a new team member, that all of a sudden can take these things that we have been in a, excuse me, we have been in this like doing it ourselves, and that taking up time, that when we allow for ourselves to give those things away and to trust the process and to trust that we don't have to micromanage, we don't have to be right there on it all, and we can allow for it to all come together, it opens up so much more space for
Right.
us to really flow in. And then we're not so busy being caught up in what our mind's telling us we should do, and we can actually hear that,
Mm.
"Oh, this way. Oh, yeah, look over here. Oh, do this." It's like we get to be in that authority within ourselves, because we're not consumed with all the things that we think we have to be responsible for constantly.
Right.
That becomes very dense and very burdensome.
Yeah.
And we are in that density. I think of it as this, is like, how much am I taking on that is not allowing me to go at the speed that divine timing actually wants me to, right?
Mhm.
It may be like you're on a trajectory for something, but then if I start taking stuff on, it weighs me down and I go slower. Or or this happens a lot too, I like to quantum leap. I'm like, "Oh, well, just
Ah.
jump into that. Like I'll just do something and then it's like, well, I'll just jump in. And
Right.
all the components aren't there yet. And so then I'm like, oh crap, I'm here, but not everything else has arrived yet.
Right.
Now I'm just having to hang out by myself, waiting for everything to line out. And so there's definitely a lot of different ways that that shows up, in my experience anyway. And I am learning. I am so grateful for this container and for what we do here. We are in this soulpreneur experience.
Mhm.
We we are not above it. We are in it. We are in
In
the
it.
thick of it. And that is what I think qualifies us most to be wanting to do the things that we do and bringing forward the things that we bring forward is because we are so deeply
Mhm.
in it, and we are in our sovereignty with it of recognizing how much it teaches us and how much we can learn from this journey. And then we can apply it. It's not just learning it, but it's the integration of it. And then we apply it and then we get to see the results of that. And I have witnessed in our container, I'm just speak to this one because we both have projects and all the things. But if we just talk about this, it's, I have witnessed us go through times of being out of our authenticity because we are trying to control a timeline or a narrative or something that we think has to happen. And then to watch us come to the recognition that that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then to be like, oh, we see what's happening here. We're going to
Yeah.
let that go. And then to watch, and I'm not, it's not just woo woo ness. It's like you literally can watch the magic of that take place. It's like as soon
Mhm.
as we come to that awareness and we let that go and we come back into a centered state, things happen. Like either something gets taken off of our plate that wasn't meant to be anyway, or it wasn't
Right.
in the alignment we thought it was anyway. And it's like, oh, well, now that's not an issue. Or all these things we were trying to make happen suddenly happen without even us having to effort towards it.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's just like, oh, that's what it is to be in allowance, to allow for things that we can't think of. Because so often for me, it's I have to try to create the plan, the perfect plan to execute. And half of the components in my perfect plan are not even the components that are needed in the grander plan, in
Right.
the bigger scheme of things. But my humanness will want to attach to those things and say, damn it, these have to happen before this can be. And so it's just such a beautiful process to go through. Obviously, individually, we're all going through that, but it's great to have others to be able to reflect with and see that happening and have each other's backs on that and be like,
Right.
maybe we don't need to be so attached to that. Or, maybe there's something else that's trying to evolve here. And that feels a lot easier.
It so does. So, if you could give one practical tip, and then I'll give one.
Mhm.
If you could give one practical tip for allowing when you know that you can feel it, like you know that something isn't going to come during a launch date, or something isn't really happening, and you're getting frustrated, you're scared, you feel the pressure. Um, give one practical tip on what we can do about it.
So for me, that the practicality there is I to set up a system for yourself of a recognition of when you are out of your alignment. So if for me, I'll give a couple. Confusion is a great one for me. When I'm confused or I'm conflicted or I'm like, I don't know, that is a red flag for me that I need to stop, get back centered, and take some time to get back in my heart because generally I've went to my head.
Mhm.
And so it's that for me, it's that simple most of the time is recognizing when if I'm feeling stressed, and I'm not saying like stress happens, obviously it can be a catalyst too, but there's a difference between that when you know that that stress is hurting you, like it doesn't feel good. It's not that kind of stress. It's like, ooh, I can get all the things done with this.
Yeah.
But when I notice myself in those ways, that is my first step is just to witness it, to recognize it, and then to hold it and just hold space and maybe push pause. And it can be as simple as taking a few breaths and coming back to center and be like, okay, this is obviously not. where I need to be right now or what I need to be doing and just put it down. If I'm trying to create some digital product or I'm trying to do something and I'm getting frustrated or I'm just in it, it's like, okay, put it down, go step away for a minute and release it. Let it go, surrender it, and then ask for me it's like setting that intention with and asking for the guidance from my heart space of show me the way, get me back into alignment here, and then take the next step that feels good and that feels aligned. That's the simplest thing for me. That's like just across the board simple.
Awesome.
You.
Awesome. Same, same thing. I'll add on to it. Yes, same, same. So, I love all of that, and only like there's no difference because the big thing I was going to say is like leave it alone.
Mhm.
Go do something else and something completely different. Like
Yeah.
don't go back to work. Like go play, go get out in nature, go shake it off and turn up the music really loud, but don't come back to it even that day. Like take the time to clean out your closet.
Mhm. Mhm.
Take the time to go do that thing that has been burning on your mind that you've needed to do, but you've stuck to this launch because you felt obligated to it. Go play with your dogs, go play with your grands, go, do something that actually takes you out of the spinning, recycling mind.
Oh, when you said that, it reminds me of like what we call the wheel of death in tech.
Yes,
Things just like the wheel that just spins and spins and nothing
the
happens.
hamster wheel.
That's where we get in our psyche. Our
Yes,
psyche gets stuck in that. And then all we can do is like we become so tunnel visioned and so focused on this one little minute thing that is not the thing. Like it probably doesn't even have any kind of uh weight to it in the long run, and that's why our soul and our spirit is trying to say like this ain't it. You're
right.
this ain't it.
Right. I had that experience really recently where I was actually on with tech support
Mhm.
trying to fix something that was like a glitch in the system and like it just wasn't he kept giving me things and resources to try and then I actually said I'm going to pause and I'm going to walk away.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna let this run dry until he's out of ideas. I'm actually gonna stop him midway, and I'm gonna walk away. And I walked away for the rest of the afternoon, came back the next day, and it was magically fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that is the magic of aligned timing. That's also the magic of surrender.
Mhm.
It's the better you get at picking up on it early, the faster it resolves itself.
Mhm.
And that's the thing is like quick I think another great tip is to catch it
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
as early as possible. So I think these are great. And I was looking at our anything else that we have before we let everybody go. We're right at that hour mark,
Yay,
which
look
is
at that.
perfect.
Yeah,
Um,
I think we did it. We've got to our practical tips, and then I want to encourage you guys. I want to hear
yeah,
from you. I want to hear from you. What are the things that you're doing? What are the practices that you put in place for yourself to a be in divine timing? So what does that mean? Because I know that that requires practice for me anyway. It means that I have to be, I do things every morning to get myself into a state. I, do my breath work. I sit with myself. I meditate, all these things that we do. And we're curious, what do you do? How are you getting yourself into a state to really surrender and be in flow with divine timing? And what are the pieces, the little nuggets that you can share with us, with the community around how you notice if you are going against that flow, and how do you get yourself back into that state? Um, and then if you want to type those in the comments, and then also if there's anything that comes up for you around this that you have a desire to have more support around, or you have questions, or there's things that you don't know what the practice is and you would like some practices, give us that information too, because we're here to serve and we want to serve and support you in that way. So the more that you inform us, the more that we can be, we're responders. We're really great responders. So we love to be informed of what you need so that we can support you how we can, the best we can. So yeah, that. And what else? Anything else?
Well, yeah, just when you respond to us, maybe it'll be on another episode. Maybe it'll be a theme for an episode that we do. Next week, we have more on emails on Tuesday. We're going to do email sequencing and email planning out so that way you can schedule it and set it and forget it like that.
Good.
Uh, what was that thing like on late night TV? Set it and forget it.
Talking about this. It's like a rotisserie or a something. I
Yeah,
don't
something,
remember. George Foreman,
something.
who knows? But
I
yeah,
don't know. We need that phrase. Set I'm sure it's copywritten. Set it and forget it.
probably.
Um, so
Don't
we will don't come after us. Just set it and don't
forget.
remember it anymore. um so that's going to be on Tuesday for Unleash Your Techie Superpower. We've got a Thursday. So Tuesday is Techie Unleash Your Superpower. And then on Thursdays is our Soulpreneur Experience, where we dive deep into unlayering and peeling the onion back on what it really means to be an entrepreneur, and just coming together and congregating and being with community on these Thursdays is so beautiful. So join us live here in the Soulpreneurs app. You can get it if you go to, we'll have it in the show notes here in YouTube. We'll have it on our Instagram. We really would love for you to follow us on Instagram at soulpreneurs.exp, which is our experience page, and then also our new soulsoftware.co Instagram profile as well. We're building it, and we're about to have lots and lots of content that's going to come to you and lots of value there. So please come and follow us there. And yeah, I think that wraps us up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. We are so grateful to be here with you, and love to end with just a gratitude for everybody to come into a space of just one thing that they're very grateful for today. I'm grateful for this space, this container, this community that we are growing, and the opportunity to grow together. It's just so much better to do this together, it feels like for me. And there's a lot that we have to do by ourselves, but we don't have to do everything by ourselves. So it feels good. I'm grateful for this space.
Mm. And I'm grateful for you, Misty. Thank you so much for that beautiful opening today. And thank you for being here. And thank you to the guests who have come on and watching and commenting and engaging with us. We appreciate you so much.
Mhm. I do. Thank you. And I'm very grateful for you and grateful for just the whole soulpreneur experience. We are doing
Mhm.
the damn thing. If you're here doing the soulpreneur thing, we feel you. We understand the ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows and all the things. And we're here for it. Here
Yes,
for
we are.
it. Mhm. All
We'll
right, guys.
see you later, everybody.
Time.
Bye.
Bye.